Assalamu alaikum, gorgeous. Welcome back to the Rosaline Batul Show. I want to start with a question. Why are you so defensive? Why are you easily triggered? That's two questions. Let me ask you another question. Why are you so quick to anger? I want you to pause and reflect on these questions and then come back and listen to the rest of this episode, because I have some tips for you that's going to help you get out of this defensive energy. Okay, now that you're back, let's talk about why you are so defensive. I want you to imagine when you were a little girl, you often expressed yourself like every child in the world. You expressed your opinions, you shared your thoughts and your feelings, you had a tantrum. You were just this burst of energy that always needed to be expressed. But then something happened. Your parents probably didn't know how to deal with your emotions, or they just did not know how to parent you because they were going through their own traumas, or they did not learn how to navigate your emotions because that's what happened to them. So quickly on, let's say around the age of 2 and 3, you learned that the only way for you to be loved was to conform, was to be a version of yourself, or to be someone that you're not. And the someone that you're not became kind of like an adult. So in your childhood, you were too busy being the adult while your parents were too busy being the child. And they often turned to you, or they expected you to manage your own emotions. Now, this is a pivotal part. For a child, that is very devastating. To manage your own emotions is traumatic. It's not traumatic on the level of sexual abuse, but it is traumatizing to the level of suppressing your emotions. Every emotion that is suppressed creates a wound, which creates a pattern. So it's still some form of trauma. So you managing your own emotions became this coping mechanism, or it became a survival mechanism that you used to survive your childhood. And because your father wasn't there protecting you emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, mentally, it created a wound within you. Now here's the thing, that wound, you're protecting it. And that's why you get defensive. Now that you're an adult, whenever someone pokes that wound, it reminds you of all the times that you were unloved, rejected, abandoned, betrayed, felt unlovable, felt not good enough, felt unimportant, felt unworthy. That wound is like it's festering in negative emotions that you've pushed down, that you keep pushing down because you just don't have the tools, or you don't have the time or energy to work through them, to just purge them out. So you've created a wall around this wound, protecting it. And that's why when something happens in your life and someone triggers you, or you really have this really strong, cold, masculine demeanor, it's because you're protecting that wound. And I want you to imagine that wound is a little girl. That little girl is you. And you are trying to protect her from everyone outside of her. So basically what you're doing is you're becoming the parent you never had to your triggers. You're becoming the parent who was responsible. But you've taken responsibility too far in the sense that you are protecting something that hurt you. You're trying to protect your inner child, but the best way to protect your inner child is to help her manage her emotions, or help yourself work through those emotions. That's the best way to protect your inner child, to help her grow up. So every time you suppress those emotions, what's happening really is your inner child is screaming out for help. And because you don't know how to help her, you get defensive at the people who are triggering you. You get angry. Like, why are you triggering me right now? I don't have time for this. This is not the time. I don't have the tools to fix this. I can't fix this. I don't want to feel these emotions right now. I don't want it. How dare you? So now you react like the parent that you had to people who trigger you. You get angry. You start blaming. You get defensive. It's very hard to crack a joke with you. It's very hard to be around you. Because you're always afraid of being triggered. Now, I don't know about you, but this is not a way to live. And I know this is not what you want. I know for you, you really don't want to be in a position where where people are walking on eggshells around you. Where people have to mind their P's and Q's to make sure that they don't trigger you or upset you. Now, this is a sign of toxic masculinity. When a man is in his toxic masculine, like imagine a marriage, and you're with an abusive guy, you're going to mind your P's and Q's, and you're always going to fear him. So this is similar to what you're creating in your relationship, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your friendships, whether it's at work, whether it's with your clients, whether it's with your employees, whether it's with your boss, whether it's with a stranger on the street, the cashier. You are recreating this toxic masculinity within yourself. You always have to be right. You always have to be the first to do something. You have to always be the one who's stoic. That's not femininity. Femininity is all about feeling. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit with the emotion. And the best time for you to sit with the emotion is right after you've had that tantrum. So right after you've got defensive and you've spewed out whatever came out of your mouth or whatever anger came out, however you expressed it, I want you to sit with that emotion. I want you to take the time. And this is what it is really. When you're defensive, you feel like you don't have time. Because remember, you were surviving your childhood. You couldn't wait to grow up so that you could get out of your childhood. But what's happening in your mind is you still think you're in your childhood. That's why you're always saying to yourself, I just don't have time. I don't have time to work through this. So I want you to sit with that emotion. Whenever you have that tantrum, whenever you feel frustrated or defensive, go through the emotion, let it out. Right? Because in that moment, sometimes when we're really reactive, it's hard for us to become aware of what's happening and to fall back and surrender. So when you do have the time, or when you do realize, oh, I took it too far, or you just think to yourself, what am I doing here? Or you've gone through the emotion and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Because I know when you're defensive, you also feel guilty. What you're going to do is, instead of you feeling guilty and ruminating over what you've done or how you reacted, you're going to sit down with a journal, with a piece of paper. And I want you to ask a few questions to yourself. Answer these questions. The first question is, what does this remind me of? So let whatever comes up just come up. What does this remind me of? So you're going to look back at what happened. Let's say, for example, someone mentioned, complimented you or criticized you maybe. Maybe you got criticized and you got really defensive. So you're going to analyze. I want you to analyze that scenario that happened. And I want you to ask yourself, I want you to imagine you're just watching it on a screen. And I want you to ask yourself, what does this remind me of? And let whatever thought come to your mind and write it down. Usually you'll remember something. It'll be a memory from childhood or a memory from when you were younger. Just write it out. Don't judge it. Don't think about it. Don't say it's a right or wrong answer. There is no right or wrong answer. In fact, there's only a right answer because only you know. So trust yourself, okay? Now, the second question I want you to ask yourself is, what did I need in this moment? So usually when we get defensive or we get triggered, it's because there's a need that is being triggered, or there's a lack of a need, lack of something within us that we haven't given ourselves. And now we're venting, we're projecting, we're hoping that that person, that when we get angry, we're hoping that person will say, oh my God, she's having a bad day. Let me just relax and say sorry. We're looking for validation of the lack of the need that we have within ourselves, the lack of love, the lack of validation. We're looking for it outside of ourselves. So you want to ask yourself, you want to just contemplate, what do I need in this moment? What did I need in this moment? And then the final question you want to ask yourself is, who do I want to be instead? Asking yourself this question, who do I want to be, is going to create an identity in your mind. Because remember, when you're getting triggered, you are acting like that little girl who felt rejected, abandoned, denied, unloved. That's who you're reacting like. That's who you're playing out. You're playing out that identity the moment you're feeling defensive. So you want to ask yourself the question, who do I want to be instead? Who do I want to become? Who do I want to be in this moment? When someone is criticizing me, think about the scenario. What's the main concept of that scenario that triggered you? Who do I want to be instead? I want to be more poised. I want to be more elegant. I want to be triggerless. I want to be powerful in that moment. And then you're going to ask yourself, what do I need to believe for me to be this way? When you break down the word believe, it turns into two words, be plus live. So you have to be the person, have all her belief systems, all her thought processes to live her life. So what belief system do you need to be that person in that situation, that poised version of yourself, the feminine version of yourself, the elegant version of yourself? What beliefs do you need to have? It's very important that you have these beliefs. So the belief could be, I'm always in control. I'm powerful. I'm triggerless. I'm confident. I'm unstoppable. I'm unshakable. I'm loved. I'm worthy. I'm always loved. These are just some kind of beliefs that you could have. So I want you to journal on these questions. These questions are going to really help you stand in your power instead of giving it away. Because every time you feel defensive or on the like just always triggered, and everyone has to walk on eggshells around you, another thing that you're trying to do is you're trying to maintain the power. When you notice people feel a little bit intimidated by you, something within you feels powerful. You feel like, oh yeah, I command presence. I'm so powerful. But really what's happening in that situation, you're being the parent who emotionally abused you. You're being that parent who also dominated you and intimidated you and made you feel less confident. You're becoming like that person. So when people are walking on eggshells around you and feeling like they have to mind their P's and Q's, and you're kind of enjoying that people just like, stop fidgeting and feel a bit nervous around you, that's not something, unless obviously like there's a different feminine vibe and insecurity, you know the difference. But if you're feeling like, oh yeah, like people are nervous around me, I must have some kind of presence. That's not presence, that's intimidation. Feminine energy is more about mystery. It's more sensual. It's present. It's like you can make eye contact with someone and then they just melt. Their worries melt. They smile. They're just happy to be in your presence, in your energy field. That's feminine energy. Like you don't have to say nothing. You can walk into a room and people are just like naturally drawn to you. They're drawn to your confidence. They're drawn to your energy. It radiates beauty. That's different to having this shell around you, this wall around you, and making people feel intimidated by you. That's like literally a masculine energy. So this is what's going to help you break down that masculine energy by just answering those questions. And it helps you create the thoughts. Because remember, you are the driver of your thoughts and your beliefs and your subconscious mind. You tell your subconscious mind what to do, not the other way around. You have control over your subconscious mind. So the more intentional you get about thinking and believing, you are going to see your life change. You're going to embrace your feminine energy. You're going to embrace your womanhood, and you're going to be more relaxed. People are going to be relaxed around you. They're going to love being around you. So try the journaling. Let me know how it goes. Comment below. Let me know how it went. What came up for you. I would love to know. And thank you for listening.